opportunities. The person sitting next to you, maybe the one to hold the treasure you have to come to discover. If you have the slightest difficulty in breaking the ice, you can count on me to break it for you. My role is not just to bring you together during these 2 days. My responsibility will be to be your very own serial connector. You probably have a clear idea of your expectations, but BioMarine is full of surprises. Be prepared for unexpected opportunities, ambitious ideas, and fruitful ventures. At BioMarine, you'll find that aquaculture can speak and connect with environment, but also with biomaterial and cosmetic. Whatever you bring to the table at BioMarine could be useful for any sector that is represented at the convention. If you came here with questions, I want you to leave with projects. If you came here with specific research, I want you to leave with contracts and perspective. The potential for improvement excites us each year, and we hope you will continue to join us in this adventure. Innovation is part of our DNA, and we make sure that BioMarine continues to evolve in the most organic way possible. This year, the WUVA is our user-friendly tool, which makes our connection a lot smoother. Thanks for their support. To my beloved sponsor, a special thank you, because without you, we wouldn't exist. 2016 will also bring new surprises. And tomorrow, at the end of the ceremony, we'll give you a glimpse of what to expect. Now, no more talking, and let's the show begin. Get ready to interact. And I will ask, Al Leach from MMI, the president, to come here and do the introduction for the panel. Thank you.
Good morning. I'm Alfred Leach, President and Chief Strategy Officer for MMI, one of North Carolina's leading public relations and branding firms. It's my pleasure today to join Pierre and his colleagues and all of our distinguished speakers at BioMarine 2015. The state of North Carolina, its coastal communities, including our host city Wilmington, and the world-famous Research Triangle all have one thing in common: a history of innovation. My organization's had the privilege of working with thought leaders from startups and emerging growth companies across several industries to help introduce new technologies so that we can make a difference in the world. So it's indeed an honor for me to stand here today and introduce many of our presenters, each of whom are leaders in making important contributions to our world and to our industry. First, it is my pleasure to introduce our speaker, Dr. Deborah Mosca, who is the Chief Executive Officer of the Marine Biotechnologies Center for Innovation, headquartered at the Center for Marine Sciences in Wilmington, North Carolina. With more than 35 years of experience in biotech and pharma companies and nonprofit research institutions, Dr. Mosca is an expert in creating the business strategy to drive commercialization of marine biotechnologies from North Carolina's vast network of marine research institutions. Ladies and gentlemen, Dr. Deborah Mosca.
Thank you, Al, for that warm introduction. And thanks to the BioMarine organizers for quite literally shining a spotlight on an international audience and highlighting North Carolina's marine bioassets. I would like to take this opportunity for myself and my colleague Randall Johnson to express how honored we were to be selected by the organizers of the 2015 BioMarine Business Convention to be the official partners here in Wilmington and to bring to this state an international group that is focused on developing those particular assets. We have worked tirelessly for the last 2 years to create the agenda that you see in your program, not just with the organizers, but with our colleagues across the region, the state, and internationally to make it an exciting event for all of you here today and through Wednesday. For those of you who were unable to attend the reception last night, we heard some very interesting remarks from Cecilia Holden, who's the Chief of Staff for the North Carolina Department of Commerce. And what I found most resonating was how many firsts there are for North Carolina. First in flight, most people know it's on our license plate. You'll see it on a lot of cars driving around town. But for me, more importantly, first to create a center, the North Carolina Biotechnology Center, more than 30 years ago, to capitalize on what was then an emerging field of research, biotechnology. And in that 30 years, as happens in any field of science, things grow. Things become very broad, become very diverse. And you need to now refocus some of those efforts in order to capitalize yet again on those resources. And 3 years ago, the center created the funds for the Marine Biotechnology Center of Innovation. And with that inception grant, MBCOI was formed. And in 3 years, we have focused on the assets in North Carolina. We have executed more than 80 agreements with various stakeholders, both in North Carolina and outside. And we are looking to execute even more agreements with some of our international partners here at this convention. In addition, we did an inventory of the assets and created a customized relational database with a controlled vocabulary that allows us to search for strengths and expertise and match that to our partners, hence making MBCOI a nexus for information, collaboration, and commercialization of marine biotechnology assets for the benefit of North Carolina's economy. I thank you for your attention. I hope you will have a great experience here, not just at the conference, but enjoy the sights, sounds, and tastes of North Carolina that we have to offer. And I want to thank all of our staff, our families, and our colleagues for supporting us over the last 2 years to make this event possible. Thank you.
Thank you, Deborah. Our next speaker is Randall Johnson, Executive Director for the Biotech Center's Southeastern Office in North Carolina. Mr. Johnson is responsible for strengthening North Carolina's regional economy through economic development actions related to marine biotech, industrial biotech, renewable bioproducts, energy, clinical research, and agricultural biotech. Mr. Johnson was awarded the U.S. President's Volunteer Service Award, a national honor award recognizing lifelong commitment to volunteer service. His work with statewide partners led to the creation of North Carolina's Marine Biotechnology Center of Innovation. Please introduce Randall Johnson to you.
Good morning and welcome to Wilmington again. I see a lot of faces we saw last night at the reception. I hope you had a great time there. We certainly did ourselves, and we brought in some good weather, great band, and food for you. Hope you enjoyed that. So you know we enjoy living here. I think you can tell that. But this is also the right place to do business. You heard my president, Doug Edgerton, mention last night that biotech in North Carolina is a $74 billion industry, 600 companies, 60,000 employees, and that's from really long-term investment in this sector, starting 30 years ago, as Deb mentioned, and building over time, focusing on diverse sectors from all the way from the biopharma to agricultural biotech and marine biotech, where we have particular strengths here, and really started building in the 90s. Dan Baden at UNCW came to town 1999, I believe, and began really focusing the vision locally on marine biotech development. The state has continued to invest heavily in marine biotech, not only here in Wilmington, but in Carteret County and other places around the state. UNC Chapel Hill, NC State University, Duke University have all invested heavily in marine biotech. So UNCW recently, as many of you may know from attending the BIT tour yesterday, the Business and Innovation Tour, has invested heavily in a new commercialization building there. There's still space available, by the way, for a couple of companies if you're interested in locating there, but it is a unique space for North Carolina and for our area. I encourage you to learn more about that space, to talk to Dan Baden, Ron Vetter, the Chancellor, as you're here, to learn more about what we're doing there. There has always been, I think, a strong focus at UNCW on education and program development, unique programs like the Business of Marine Biotech program, as well as commercialization opportunities, and that's really what we're focused on here. So again, I encourage you to talk to the university representatives here, the companies that have spawned out of that university and out of that facility and out of the work over time there, and see if we can find some international collaboration opportunities. I'll mention too that the Biotech Center has invested heavily in marine biotech over time, with teacher workshops, teaching teachers how to create a spark with the next generation of scientists. That's been an important part of our program. We've invested in equipment at universities. We've invested in companies with loans, market studies to determine if a particular fish species was going to be well received in metro markets around the U.S. They were, so we need to produce more now. And we need the investment to be able to produce those fish, as well as investments in technology commercialization. UNCW received one of our first technology enhancement grants, and they continue to develop ideas that are funded by the Biotech Center and by other organizations. Deb has already mentioned the funding and investment in the Marine Biotech Center of Innovation. That was a many years long effort focused on developing this commercialization engine for North Carolina, focused on marine biotech. We were very fortunate to have Deb Mosca join us from California. She's fit right in here. She's hit the ground running. She's doing amazing work. I encourage you to connect with her at some point. Everyone in the room, connect with Deb and look at opportunities here in North Carolina and elsewhere where she has some sort of impact or influence. She can connect you with a lot of people who can help you out. I'll also mention too, Brunswick Community College just across the bridge has the first and only marine biotech degree in the community college system. So we have the workforce, we have the technology, we have the educational assets, we have the commercialization assets, as well as companies that are coming out of the universities and are locating here from other places. I think we have more and more companies that are realizing Wilmington's a great place to live and to work. So we're fortunate to have that kind of location for companies to do business. We are so glad that you're here with us. We're thrilled to have you here. It's going to be an exciting 2 days of exploring international opportunities and bringing those international opportunities home. We hope you enjoy your time in Wilmington and network, learn, partner, and enjoy yourselves. Thanks.
Thank you, Randall. It's now my distinct honor to introduce a video presentation from His Serene Highness Prince Albert II of Monaco. For many years, Prince Albert and his foundation have been working on important ocean sustainability initiatives. As one of the first world leaders to recognize the role that industry and investors can play to help achieve ocean sustainable development, Prince Albert is now calling for more collaboration with applied research and industry to foster innovation, especially toward developing countries. Prince Albert's the honorary chairman of the BioMarine International Clusters Association, so I'll please ask if you'll join me to watch this video presentation. Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, dear friends, unfortunately I was unable to join you today as I had hoped. However, having closely followed the work carried out by BioMarine with interest for several years now, I know it is just a question of time. The previous editions of this convention have proved its relevance and dynamism. I'm thinking especially of the various topics which in the past were at the heart of your meetings and which sketched the concrete outlines of this innovative and responsible blue economy that BioMarine illustrates so brilliantly. This blue economy is indeed an opportunity for all those who, like me and like you, do not wish to lead our world by ruining our environment. That is why the Monaco Blue Initiative, which my foundation organizes every year in order to bring together political, scientific, economic, and environmental players around common debates, placed sustainable aquaculture on its 2015 agenda. Consequently, this enabled us to identify key solutions and opportunities for progress, all complementary to one another, whether it be by the development of marine protected areas, improved research, or the reorientation of public subsidies. BioMarine, in turn, is focusing on these issues, and I believe that this concomitance is more than beneficial since our approaches are complementary. Thanks to the economic resources and capacity for initiative that your group together, as well as your ability to set a concrete agenda for many projects, I know your work cannot fail to contribute directly towards the development of this new economy, which is needed now more than ever. The partnerships resulting from your previous conventions, the ties they have forged from London to Portugal, from Portugal to the United States, and tomorrow from the United States to Norway, are an eloquent proof. At a time when world leaders are about to meet in Paris to try and escape the deadlock of a development model which generates the inexorable deterioration of our climate and our environment, it is now more important than ever to highlight, develop, and exploit the perspectives offered by marine bioresources. This is the program of your work and an expectation we all share. I would like to thank you most sincerely, Pierre and Véronique Herves, as well as all of BioMarine's teams, for devoting so much energy, determination, and talent to this work. Thank you.
It's my pleasure to introduce to you Chris Chung, Chief Executive Officer of the Economic Development Partnership of North Carolina, who will lead a discussion on promoting North Carolina as a place to do business, locate a business, visit, and live. In 2015, Chris joined the new Economic Development Partnership of North Carolina, which is a public-private partnership that performs economic development functions on behalf of the state of North Carolina, including new business recruitment, existing business support, international trade and export assistance, and more. Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Chris Chung.
Good morning, everyone. I get the opportunity and privilege to speak to a lot of different audiences in the context of my job here in North Carolina. I can honestly say that's the first and only time I will probably ever be preceded by the Prince of Monaco on any stage that I'll be lucky enough to get. A few years ago, right after college, I was traveling as a backpacker, a shoestring budget traveler in the south of France along the Riviera, and decided to go check out Monaco for about 90 minutes. That's all I had at the very tail end of the trip, and I wanted to check one more country off of the list. So I took the second to last train from Nice into Monaco and walked around, tried to get into the casino because, of course, that's so famous with the James Bond movies and everything like that. It was one of those things I thought, well, I'm in the neighborhood, I may as well do it anyway. But being a shoestring budget traveler as I was at the time, I was dressed in shorts and a t-shirt, and as you all know, if you've been there, they have a very strict dress code, and they did not let this person in at the time. But next time I'm in Monaco, I will say that Prince Albert and I were buddies. We're on the same stage together, and hopefully that's enough to get me in. And I won't tell if you won't in terms of us really being on the stage together. But I do appreciate the chance to address you all today. Welcome to North Carolina. Welcome to Wilmington. For those of you watching at home, we hope you find that apart from the warm hospitality and beautiful weather, you find this conference as productive as everyone else who's attending it here in person. So it's my privilege today to just offer a few comments in the context of North Carolina and why this sector offers so much promise to us as an emerging industry for our economy. A few years ago, I was attending another conference in Washington, D.C., and I was doing some sightseeing on Sunday afternoon, and I went to the Smithsonian Museum, I think of natural history or whichever one it was that focuses a lot on biological species. And they had a great video there talking about the ocean and all the wonders within it. And the video that I happened to watch at the time talked about a phenomenon in the ocean called a whale fall. Those of you who are experts in this field, you know what the concept of a whale fall is. Those of you who, like me, did not at the time, it's when a whale dies in the middle of the ocean and the carcass slowly sinks to somewhere in that depth of 2,000 to 4,000 meters. So sort of below the level at which a lot of the natural scavengers might quickly consume the carcass, it settles onto the ocean floor, and over time it becomes a harbor and a home for a very complex localized ecosystem of very diverse marine life that otherwise would not exist but for this serendipitous outcome of the whale carcass falling from the tops of the waters down to the depths of the ocean floor. And for me, being in the economic development field, it was not being a marine biologist or an expert in marine science whatsoever, it was a very pointed metaphor for what we're trying to accomplish when it comes to economic development. What we are trying to do in this field of economic development is attract those kinds of serendipitous outcomes which, if successful, they can spawn a whole community of activity. In our case, spawning off a diverse array of economic activity that leads to companies being formed, to individuals having jobs, to households being supported with income, and all of those great things that happen when you have a great story or great phenomenon like a whale fall, an economic whale fall. And I think that's what the potential of something like the marine biotechnology industry really has to offer to states like North Carolina and regions like the one that we sit in today. And so it's with an open set of arms that we welcome all of you who are traveling here for the first time or for more than the first time to spend a little bit of time with your colleagues in this industry to learn more about your respective businesses, to learn more about what it's like to do business in this corner of the world, and hopefully to make a few more friendships and business relationships that will power you into the future. A little bit about my organization. As you heard, I represent a relatively new organization that's focused on economic development for the state of North Carolina. Among other things, we promote the state for tourism as well as for attraction of business. So if anything, we hope that you're having a wonderful time here in Wilmington if this is your first time visiting, and that you spend lots and lots of your money before you head back home to wherever you are. But even if that's just the first time, we hope that it creates a lasting impression for you. More importantly, for the context of why I'm here today, it's to talk a little bit about what makes sense and what the advantages are for North Carolina as a business location. You're sitting in a state that's a population of roughly 10 million, among the fastest growing states in the country. We're now 9th largest in the U.S. That's up from 10th largest in the U.S. as early as January of this year. We surpassed the state of Michigan to grow to be the 9th largest state, and it's an indicator of a trend that we see all across North Carolina in terms of growth and vibrancy that few states are able to talk about in those terms. We have a state gross product of roughly $490 billion, roughly actually on par, coincidentally, with the country of Norway, which I know is the host nation for BioMarine next year. So that gives you some sense of scope and scale as to the economy that is North Carolina's. And it's a very diverse economy that spans everything from agribusiness to manufacturing to financial services and, of course, to biotechnology, which, if you haven't heard enough times by this point in the conference, you haven't been listening, but it's a very important cornerstone of the state's innovation economy with, again, 600 companies, $74 billion in economic impact, and more than 60,000 people every day going to work in fields of biotechnology that are figuring out how to heal, feed, and fuel the world as we continue to grow on this big round globe of ours. But it's an important sector for us, and it's an important focus for North Carolina's economic development efforts. I'll spare you the entirety of the normal sales pitch, but I do want to highlight a couple of things that I think make North Carolina unique to whatever plans that you and your respective businesses have in mind, especially as you leave this conference energized for the next steps in your company's growth stories. Human capital. We can't emphasize enough how much human capital matters to an innovation-intensive industry like biotechnology. Certainly, the fields that you're all in, that is no exception at all. You need people who are capable of innovating, of ideating, and of creating. And I think here in North Carolina, that's absolutely one of those promises that we offer as a location, especially in our coastal communities as it relates to marine biotechnology. When it comes to human capital, you can grow it or you can go get it. And we do both here in North Carolina. Across a network of world-class universities producing graduates in the sciences and engineering disciplines, to our 2-year community colleges, 58 campuses across the state that are generating a lot of the technical workforce that's necessary for employers across a variety of spectrums. We are growing that workforce organically among the products of our local universities and colleges all over the state. But we're also getting talent to come here into the state. As I said, we are one of the fastest growing states in this country, double the national growth rate, roughly 19%, I think, in the past decade alone, compared to a U.S. growth rate of about 9%. Here in Wilmington, the city of Wilmington has grown at least 25% in each of the past 3 decades, showing, again, part of that broader trend of growth. People wanting to come here to North Carolina, people wanting to put down their roots here, people wanting to build their businesses here. That is fundamentally at the heart of the story as to why North Carolina has had a successful economy and why it continues to be an attractive place for businesses to consider. I know those of you who are watching from home won't get to see it quite firsthand like those in attendance will, but rest assured, when you come to North Carolina, when you come to a place like Wilmington, it's pretty apparent why this state continues to be a popular place, not just to live, but also to do business. But with that population growth, with the third largest in-migration rate in the country, not only are we growing the talent necessary for the next generation of companies and industries, but we're also attracting people here. When you start a business or when you grow your business in North Carolina, it's an easy sell to convince your future and prospective employees to come join you, to come join your mission, and to also live in as great of a place as we are privileged to live in every day in this state. Global thinking, that's also something that's necessary. The products and technologies that your companies are developing or investing in, they really do have the opportunity to harness all the resources of the ocean and turn them into products that, again, can heal, feed, or power the world. And these are technologies that can be adopted not just domestically here in the U.S., but all across the world. And to be able to do that from a place in North Carolina that thinks globally, that thinks internationally, you're definitely in the right place here in Wilmington. Sitting here on the coast, it's always had an international flavor, but we also have one of the largest foreign trade zones in the country, an area that's dedicated especially to international trade and commerce. That's certainly something that speaks to the unique advantages here locally in the Wilmington market. Foreign direct investment, many of you representing international companies looking at where you grow next. North Carolina is a powerhouse when it comes to attracting foreign direct investment. Companies like Germany, Japan, Canada, France, the United Kingdom all employ more than 200,000 people every day across this state going to work for companies whose ownership is ultimately somewhere else around the globe. So this is a state and this is a region that understands the power of global trade and commerce and the power of global thinking. And I think that is the type of place that you want to also consider as you look for future homes for the businesses you run or the businesses that you choose to invest in. A statewide biotech community that has few, if any, peers. And again, you heard the stats already about what the power is behind North Carolina's biotechnology story. It's not just the companies that have chosen to set up and do business here, but it's also the great support and resources that you find with institutions like the North Carolina Biotech Center and the Marine Biotechnology Center of Innovation. These are dedicated, industry-specific state resources that are designed to help you navigate whatever issues, find whatever connections and partnerships, and help you resolve any situations you may need to resolve as you decide where to grow your business and where you go in the future. And again, that's going to be very unique, at least here in the United States, with respect to what you can find across states. And we're very blessed and very privileged to have those kinds of resources right here in North Carolina. The folks at the North Carolina Biotech Center, they're our partners every day as we try to grow this biotech industry cluster, and marine biotechnology, we hope, is the latest frontier for us to work together on growing a very innovative industry with a lot of potential for growth. And then lastly, you can't ignore the advantages of a fertile business climate. Wherever you choose to go in the world, wherever you choose to go in the United States, you want to make sure that it's a place that respects your ability to operate as a business, that allows you to keep as much as possible of what you can make so that you reinvest it in your innovation, you reinvest it in your employees, and you reinvest it in the growth of your business, not in taxes, not in unnecessary regulation, but in what matters most, which is the growth of the companies that you're trying to start or that you're trying to finance. And we've made a lot of positive steps here in North Carolina to continue ensuring that in addition to all of the natural beauty and wonderful quality of life that we have here in the state, it's also an excellent place in which to do business, where taxes are competitive, they're not unusually burdensome on businesses, and again, they allow companies to invest in what matters most, their employees and their own growth as companies. And we've done that. So whether that's individual income taxes, whether those are business and corporate income taxes, these are all things that North Carolina has taken positive steps to addressing to ensure that companies from both the United States and overseas can continue to find those fertile conditions for growing and expanding their businesses once they set up shop here in our state. So let me conclude with a small call to action. Again, I really appreciate the chance to address such a a great group of individuals who happen to be here in town for this wonderful conference. The call to action is simple. If you are thinking about where your companies go next, or the companies that you're looking to align with, partner, or finance, as you're looking for that next important chapter in the growth of those companies, we do hope you'll at least pick up the phone, send us an email, or talk to any of us who represent Wilmington, who represent the southeast region of the state, who represent our coastal communities, or who represent the state of North Carolina. Any single one of us would be more than happy to help talk to your companies about what you have in mind for the next stages of growth for your businesses, and how a solution here in North Carolina might be able to propel your companies to the next level. With that, I wish you all an excellent conference. I hope you really do forge a number of great relationships and partnerships, and maybe even a few friendships that will help sustain your businesses in the years to come. Have a wonderful conference. Enjoy your time here in Wilmington. Again, spend lots of money here in our state. Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Chris. And I just want to thank each of our speakers this morning. We're going to have a short break. Following the break, there will be CEO interviews that will take place in this room, and then there will be an investment track discussion that will take place in an adjoining room here. Thank you.
I'm used to it.